Hi everyone. Hello. Welcome to the Tunisian Entrelac Masterclass. Um, I'm so excited to be here. I do have to start by saying that I got some pretty nasty cough on Thursday. I do feel much better today, although the cough is still there. So if I do need to cough or clear my throat, I do apologize, but I didn't want to let anyone down. I wanted to show up for the live masterclass for everyone because you guys been excited to learn and I'm so excited to teach you. So what we're doing today is starting on the Tunisian Entrelac masterclass. I'm going to show you how to start building up the fabric to create your Layla shawl. So Layla shawl is the winning pattern out of the three. I've got Layla here with me. So we're going to start with building up the fabric for your Tunisian Entrelac shawl. So this is Layla shawl. And I won't talk for too long prior to actually doing the demonstration, just to save my voice so we can get through the masterclass. So say hello in the comments. Let me know who's here. Hello, Julia. Lovely to have you here. I'm so excited you were able to join me. Thank you so much for joining me. So if you don't know what we're doing, if you don't know why we're here, I'm just going to pop up this QR code next to me. So if you just scan this QR code or if you click on the link for the Tunisian Entrelac event, today is the live masterclass to teach you the basics of Tunisian Entrelac, so you can then go on and produce your very own Layla shawl, which is the winning pattern out of the three. If you're interested in doing the other two patterns, which is the Lena hat or the Livy bag, you can actually upgrade to the VIP course, which is still available at better than half price until the end of this crochet along, which is the 29th of February. So by the end of the month, the price will go up. So if you do want to upgrade to the VIP course, please do so now before the price goes up, okay? So we've got, good morning, Joanne. Good morning. Lovely to have you here. Thank you for joining us for this masterclass. And I will be checking the comments as we go through the masterclass. So if anything is not making sense, if you want to ask any questions, please pop them in the comments, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. Pop them in the comments and I'll try and keep an eye on the comments and answer any questions as we go, okay? So without further ado, let's just get straight into it because we want to get through this masterclass within a reasonable time because we will be making it all as we go. So let me just show you this to start with. So I hope you can all see this and I hope you can all hear me. Let me know in the comments if this is all working for everyone, if you can still hear me and see my hands and see this little triangle here. So we're good to go. I think it should all be working, but you know, technology is the funny thing sometimes. So I hope you can see this and still hear me. Everything is working on my end. And I have no complaints in the comments, so I'm just going to move along. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to make this triangular shape so you can go ahead and make your own Layla shawl. Oh, we've got thumbs up from Julia. Thank you, Julia. Julia's like my technical assistant. Love you. Thank you so much. Thank you for the thumbs up. So that means you can hear me and see me. So here we go. This is the basic shape. So this is the triangular fabric that we will need to produce for Layla shawl, okay? So if I just quickly turn it this way, that might look a little bit more familiar, okay? So what we're gonna do in today's masterclass is I'm gonna show you the basic Tunisian simple stitch because this whole fabric is actually made in Tunisian simple stitch. No other stitches or special Tunisian crochet stitches are needed. So this is Tunisian simple stitch. Good morning, April. Lovely to have you here. So we got Tunisian simple stitch, and the only other stitches we need to know is chain and slip stitch. So that's the 3 stitches that we need to know for today's masterclass. And to build up the Tunisian Entrelac fabric, we will need to know 4 different types of squares, okay? So if I quickly show you, we're going to start with this first pink square here. So this is square type A, okay? Square type A is the very first square that you will make for your entrelac fabric. It's kind of a standalone square. It's not by itself, it's not connected to any other squares. When you first finish square A, it's not connected to any other squares. It's a standalone square. Then, because we're working in corner to corner technique, so we're working diagonally across the fabric, as my hook is showing you. Second square we're going to make is this green square here. So this one here, okay? This square is type B. Type B square starts with the foundation chain across the bottom, and then we're going to build the square up. And as we're building the square up, we're going to be joining it across the left-hand side onto square A, okay? After square B, we're going to move on and do square C, which is this green square at the top, okay? Now square C is connected or is worked on top of square A and is not connected to any other squares apart from across the bottom to square A. Then if we move on to the third row of squares, okay, diagonally, so corner to corner, we're again going to start with this pink square at the bottom, which is square type B again, okay? So we're going to start with the foundation chain across the bottom. We're going to connect the square across the left-hand side onto the previous square. Then we're going to move on to this pink square in the middle of the diagonal row. And this type square is type D, okay? D for dolphin. And square D is worked across the top of the square at the bottom or below, and is also connected up the left-hand side to the square to the left, okay? And then when we get to the top or the last square of the third row, diagonal row, that's going to be square type C again, because it's kind of worked on top of the square at the bottom, but it's not connected up the side to any previous square, okay? So if you just look at this, we've got A, B, C, then again, B, D, C, okay? And this third row, these 3 squares here, that's all you're going to repeat until your shawl grows to the size you want it to be, okay? So it's going to be B, D, and C. When we then get to do row 4, which is not shown here because I finished off after that row, you're going to start with square B, then you're going to work 2 squares D, and then the last one is going to be square C again. So that's how you're going to build up the Tunisian Entrelac fabric as big as you want it to be, by repeating the first square at the bottom is always square B. The squares in between are always type D. And then the very last square of that diagonal row is going to be square type C, okay? If you look at, let me put this one in there, it's going to, there we go. This is the basic graphic of the squares. And as you can see, the very last square is going to be square type D, okay? The square type D, which is the last one, doesn't really apply for the Layla shawl because it's a triangular fabric we're trying to build, okay? So again, we've got A, B, C, B, D, C, okay? So you'll always only make one square type A, then all the squares across the bottom will be type B, and all the squares rising this side are going to be type C, and all the squares in between are going to be type D, okay? So I know it might all seem a little bit overwhelming at the start, but once we start making these squares, I promise you, you're just going to get into swing of things, and it's going to be so much easier once we start, okay? And then, as you can see, after we finish off the very last row, because if you forget these green triangles, you're kind of going to end up with a fabric that's got these steps, okay? They just look like steps. So what we're then going to do, and we're going to go over it in this masterclass as well, I'm going to show you how to produce these little triangles, which are basically half squares, to kind of finish off this edge of the triangle, so you end up with a nice triangular shape for your shawl, okay? So let's just stop talking and get right to it. So get your hooks and get your yarn ready, and we're going to start with the very first square A, okay? So let me just grab my yarn, and all the entrelac squares are 7 stitches wide and 5 rows high, okay? So we're going to start with square A. We're going to start with a slip knot. I hope you can see my hands okay. I've done a wee bit interlac before. I just had a look at the diagrams on a blog, and this way of labeling the squares makes way more sense to me. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that in the comments. So yeah, if you pop over to, I have released a pattern for Layla Shawl on the blog this morning. So if you go ahead and look on the blog, I will pop the link in the comments as well for those of you watching. There are schematics on the blog explained of what type of square each of those squares are, okay? So if you look at those schematics, the squares are labeled from 1 to 400 and something. I can't even remember how many squares Layla's got, but we go from 1 to 400 something, and every single square has got the type of the square that you need to work as well, okay? So I've popped the link in the comments, so go ahead and have a look. So here we go. We're going to start with square A, okay? So this is the very first square we need to make on our fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 7, okay? 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, okay? So I've got chain of 7, and I'm going to start with the Tunisian simple stitch. So I'm going to start in second chain from the hook. I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and I'm going to leave that loop on the hook, okay? Then next chain, I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and I've got 3. And I'm going to repeat this process all the way across the foundation chain that I've just made. And because the first loop on your hook counts as a stitch as well, if you chain 7, you should have 7 loops on a hook, okay? 2, 4, 6, 7. There we go. So I've chained 7, and I've inserted hook into each chain, pulled up a loop, and left it on a hook. So I've got 7 loops on a hook. Now here we go. Because we're going to be working square A, which is along this side, I'm going to be, the edge is worked that you only yarn over and pull through the first loop, okay? Because we're not connecting down this side to any other squares. The return pass, so I have just worked the forward pass. So picking up loops on your hook is called forward pass. Working the loops back off of your hook is called return pass in Tunisian crochet, okay? So square A, I'm going to work return pass, and I'm going to yarn over and pull through 1, okay? And then I'm going to yarn over, pull through 2 loops on a hook, okay? Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, and I'm going to repeat this all the way across until I have one loop left on a hook. Okay, so this is my first forward and return pass. Okay, video is blurry on my sides. Sorry, Facebook user. Oh, everything looks okay here. I don't know if the you can try YouTube. Maybe it looks better over there, or maybe we need a bit of a faster connection. But I can see all my stats from this side, and they all look pretty good. That the speed is up to scratch. So if it's blurry on your side, maybe we need a stronger internet, or try YouTube. Try to join us over on YouTube. It might work better over there. Right, let's move on to second. So this is first row. Second row, I'm going to go under the first vertical bar. Okay, so under, this is Tunisian simple stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. Okay, and then insert your hook under the next vertical bar, pull up a loop, and all the way across. Okay, under each vertical bar until we get to the very last stitch. Okay, and when we get to the very last stitch, we're going to look to the side, and I'm going to insert the hook under both vertical loops of the very last stitch. Okay, it's a little blurry on your hands. I do apologize, guys. I don't know why it's not clear, but it looks all clear on my end. And like I said, all my stats are in green as to the speed and cameras. So maybe try to make the screen a little smaller. Maybe that's a little bit clearer. I can only apologize. Here we go. So this is the second row of the first square. And again, I'm going to yarn over, pull through the last loop, pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2, all the way across until you have one loop left on the hook. Okay, like this. So that was the second row. There we go. And all I'm going to do is insert my hook under the vertical bars again and work forward pass. So this is row 3. There we go. And each time you pick up the loops, after you pick up the loops under every vertical bar, there should be 7 loops on your hook, okay? And the last stitch, I'm going to go under both vertical bars and pick up the loop. There we go. So I go 7 loops again on the hook. And for the return pass, I'm going to yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over and pull through 2, all the way across until we get to the very last loop on a hook. Here we go. So that's 3 rows now. And I'm just going to go ahead and work the forward pass for row 4. There we go. And again, if you check on yourself, after you work the forward pass, you should have 7 loops on a hook like this. Then yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay. So this is row 4. And then very last row 5. So under the vertical bars across until I get to the very last stitch. And then I'm going to go under the 2 vertical bars on the edge. There we go. And again, I've got 7 loops on a hook, and yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over and pull through 2 all the way across. There we go. So this is 5 rows of the Tunisian simple stitch of square A. And all we need to do is finish off this last row, and we do that by slip stitching across. One thing I'm going to say about slip stitches is that you will need to work back into those slip stitches. So make sure you do them nice and loose, okay? Really super loose, because you will have to work in those slip stitches. So please don't do them tight, because otherwise you'll be cursing at your work, trust me. So I'm going to go under the vertical bar, okay, under the vertical bar, yarn over, and pull through both like this. You can see, I hope you can see that I'm doing it super loose, okay, under the vertical bar and slip stitch. And I'm going to go under the next one, okay, and next one. We go one more. And then on the very end again, I'm going to go under both vertical bars of the last stitch, okay, like this. And then I'm going to yarn over, pull through, and this is where square A is finished, so I can cut the yarn and fasten off, okay. Here we go. So that's my very first square done. What we're going to do, so this is the first square here, okay, if I do this, so we've got this square finished. What we're going to do is work this square to the side. So I'm going to start with the foundation chain, and I'm going to connect the square down these loops down the side, okay? So these loops on the edge, that's the loops we will be using, okay? So I'm going to grab the other yarn, and so that's the way, oh, I just dropped it. That's the way the square faces. And if I look to the side, I need these 2 loops on the edge of the first row, okay? So I'm going to insert my hook, okay, through the 2 loops on the edge. Okay, let me grab my yarn, dropped it. Here we go. And I'm going to join yarn through those loops, however you join your yarn, securely like this. And we're going to start on square type B, okay? Janice, yes, the masterclass will stay in my Facebook community group, and it will also stay on YouTube, so you'll be able to rewatch it, okay? So here we go. Square type B. I'm going to go ahead, so I joined my yarn through the edge stitch of the first row on square A, and I'm going to chain 7. 1, 3, 7. Okay, so I got foundation chain of 7 again, and I'm going to go and pick up the loops across that foundation chain again. Okay, so insert into the second chain from the hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and I'm going to do that across the foundation chain. Okay, so when you work your way back across the foundation chain, you should have 7 loops on a hook, okay, like this. And then because we need to connect it to this previous square, I'm also going to insert my hook through the same edge stitch that I joined the yarn into, okay. I'm going to insert my hook back in there, yarn over, and pull up a loop. So at this stage, I've got 8 loops on a hook. and that's 7 loops for the stitches of square B. And also the extra loop is because we're connecting the square B onto the previous square, okay? And now the return pass for square B is yarn over and pull through 2 loops on a hook right from the start, okay? So I'm going to go yarn over, pull through 2, all the way across until I have 1 loop left on a hook, like this. There we go. So that's the first row of square B, worked across the foundation chain, connected to square A through these edge stitches. So to start, second forward pass, again, insert the hook under the vertical bar, pull up a loop, and repeat across. Excuse me. Throat is drying out. Here we go. So we got 5 loops on a hook, 6 and 7. Okay. And to connect it, connecting second row. So I'm going to go through the second edge stitch and pull up a loop, which takes the total to 8. Okay, 8 loops on a hook. And again, I'm going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and just keep going until you have 1 loop left on the hook. Okay, so if I show you like this is where we are at the moment. So I've got 2 rows of square B, and I'm also connecting them through the edge stitches of square A. Okay, so we can move on and work on row 3, which is again under the vertical bars. And once you go across all the vertical bars, you should have 7 loops on your hook. Okay, like this. And then I'm on the 3rd row of square B. So I'm going to insert the hook through the 3rd edge stitch on square A, like this. So I've got 8 loops on a hook because we're connecting onto the previous square. And again, yarn over, pull through 2, all the way across. Until we have 1 loop on a hook. There we go. And all we got to do is now work up 2 more rows of square B by continuing in exactly the same way of picking up loops under the vertical bars. Okay, so under each vertical bar, I've got 7 loops on a hook. And again, I'm gonna connect through the next edge stitch on square A, which brings the total to 8 loops on the hook. And again, yarn over, pull through 2, all the way across until we have 1 loop left on the hook, like this. Okay, and then very last row of square B. So again, under the vertical bars, like this. Okay, under each one. and then connect through the last edge stitch on square A, which brings it to 8 loops in total, and then yarn over, pull through 2 all the way across like this until we have 1 loop left on the hook. So there we go. And again with square B, we're gonna finish off the very last row of square B. Mine is currently will it block out? Yes, Julia, it will. I've used fingering weight sock yarn, so this is Hawthorn fingering from We Crochet, and it blocks out beautifully. As you can see, mine is curling a little bit as well, but nothing but a little bit of blocking won't help. If you're using different yarn and it's really curling, like if what you've got is like this, if it's really, really curling, if you're using different weight of yarn and a different hook, that means your hook is too small, okay? As a rule of thumb with Tunisian crochet is 2 sizes bigger. Your hook needs to be 2 sizes bigger than the recommended hook for a standard crochet. So if you say using DK weight for whatever project, normal hook size is 4 millimeter. When you're using DK for Tunisian, you should at least start with 6 millimeter as a basic, and then you can just go up until it stops really curling. I mean, yes, Tunisian simple stitch curls. It's a fact. Yes, it does curl. I won't lie to you. I won't keep that from you. It does curl, but as you can see, I haven't done anything to this, and it's not curling awfully bad because I'm using a 5.5 millimeter hook with the fingering weight yarn. So it's kind of, and if I show you this one, this is not blocked. I haven't blocked this at all, because you can see this little bit is curling slightly, but all these squares, I haven't blocked this. I made this last night about 11:30 last night. So I didn't block this. So you can see that with the right combination of yarn and hook, you can actually reduce the curl before you block it, okay? So yes, it does curl, I won't lie. But it will block out, definitely. I've blocked my Layla shawl and it blocked out beautifully. Here we go. So we have 5 rows of square B, okay? And all we need to now do is finish off the very last row, and we're going to do that in the same way as we finished off the square A with the slip stitches. So cast it. I've got 6 millimeter hook with 4 ply, and it's sitting nicely. I do quite a bit of Tunisian crochet. Perfect. Yeah, good combination. 6 millimeter hook and 4 ply is a great combo for a drapey fabric that doesn't curl a lot, and with the additional blocking it will sit nicely. So here we go. We're going to finish off the last row of square B, and again do your slip stitches loosely, super loose, because we will be working into them, okay? So again, under the vertical bar and slip stitch. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so go 6 slip stitches across the top, because the first loop is just loop. So under the 6 vertical bars, I've got 6 slip stitches there. And where we're going to go now is the last edge stitch that we used for connecting the last row. I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into that same stitch, okay? There we go. So this is where we are at the moment. We're in the last edge stitch of square A on the very last row, okay? So what we're gonna do, so this is basically square B finished. If I do this, square A, square B, and what we're gonna do now is work up the square that sits directly above square A. So we're gonna use these slip stitches, as I warned you. We're gonna work through these slip stitches on top of square A, okay? So my loop is in the last edge stitch of the last row. And what I'm going to do is insert my hook into the first slip stitch. Okay, pull up a loop and leave it on a hook. So we're going to basically use these slip stitches to pick up our loops for square C. Okay, so my first loop on the hook counts as a stitch. And I'm going to pick up one loop through each of those 6 slip stitches across the top of square A, which is going to be the first forward pass for square C. Okay, here we go, like this. Yes, under both loops of the slip stitches, that's right, under both loops, because if you are worried that those loose slip stitches will look ugly on your finished project, if you look to the back, that's where they're going to hide. Okay, so under both loops of slip stitches, thank you for the question. Okay, and when you do under both loops, because when you look at these slip stitches across square B, they are rather big. Okay, and you might not want to see them in your project, but because we're picking up the loops through both loops of your slip stitches, they automatically get pushed to the back. Okay, so that's where they're going to be hiding, so you won't even see them on the right side of your work. There we go. So I've got 7 loops on a hook. Okay, this is the start of square C, first forward pass. And again, on this edge, because I'm not connecting square C on this edge, the return pass is yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops at a time, all the way across until you are left with 1 loop on the hook, like this. Okay? And from this point, it's basically the same forward and return pass as for square A. Okay? Once you pick up the first set of loops, all we're going to do is just go under the vertical bars of the next stitches until the last one again. Okay, so I've got 6 loops at this point, and for the last stitch we're going to look to the side and I'm going to go under the 2 vertical bars of the last stitch on the edge. Okay, so again, double check, we've got 7 loops on a hook, and we're going to yarn over, pull through 1, okay, yarn over, pull through 2, all the way across until you have 1 loop left on a hook, like this. Okay, so that's the second forward and return pass. And off we go, forward pass of row 3. Okay, don't forget to go through both loops under both loops of the last stitch. Okay, so we've got 7 loops on a hook. And again, yarn over, pull through 1, and yarn over, pull through 2. like this. Okay, so that's row 3, and all we need is row 4, exactly the same way, under the vertical bars, and on the very last stitch is under both loops of the last stitch. 7 loops on your hook, and again pull through 1 and then pull through 2 all the way across. Like this. And last, row number 5, this is forward pass. Under both loops, okay. Again, 7 loops and yarn over, pull through 1 and pull through 2 all the way across until the last. Okay, so this is square C, all 5 rows. I thought I had 6 there for a second, but no, it's 5. So got 5 rows, and again, to finish off this last row, we're just going to work the row of slip stitches. Again, very loosely, okay? Very loosely. As you can see, when we were picking up the loops through those slip stitches, I had no troubles doing so because I've learned my lesson of not doing them too tight, okay? So very loosely. As you can see, they will end up at the back of your fabric, so don't worry about them being too loose. And on the last stitch is under both vertical bars, and again chain 1, and this is when we cut the yarn again, because square C is finished. Okay, so here we go, this is where we are at the moment. And if I show you this mini triangle, we have done the pink one, and now as you can see, the corner to corner, that's the 2 squares there. So what we're going to move on to is work these three squares over here. Okay, so that's what we're going to do next. So I'm going to change yarn again and grab the cream, which has fallen over again. There we are. It's escaping from me today. And again, to start the next diagonal row, we're going to work up square type B, which is going to sit right here. So as soon as we're done square type B, I'm just going to work through it a little bit quicker. Okay. And then we're going to work square D together, which is this one that's going to sit on this little step here. And then we're going to finish the row off by working up square C, which is going to be another square above here. Okay. So to start another square B, I'm going to look down these edge stitches and I'm going to insert my hook through the very first one. Okay, the edge stitch. This is the great thing about Tunisian crochet, that it kind of creates perfect loops on pretty much all sides of that square. Okay, so to start square B, again we're going to chain 7. So 1, okay, chain of 7, and again I'm gonna start working into the second chain from the hook, and your first loop on a hook counts as the first stitch. So into the second chain, pull up a loop and leave it on a hook, and repeat it all the way across. the foundation chain. So we've got 7 loops on a hook at this stage. Let's just double check. Okay, 7 loops on a hook. And again, because we are connecting square B to the previous square, we need to connect it through the edge stitch, so through the very first one where I connected the yarn. So I'm going to pull up another loop through that edge stitch. So at this point, I've got 8 loops on a hook. And because we're connecting to the previous square, the return pass is yarn over, pull through 2 all along. Okay? So yarn over, pull through 2 all the way across the return pass. Here we go, like this. Okay? So that's the first row. And as I said, as soon as we're done square B already, I'm just going to go ahead and work the square B a little bit faster so we can get to the square D. Again, connected to the second row, okay? So second row connecting to the second edge stitch. And again, yarn over, pull through 2, okay? There we go. Okay. So thank you so much for everyone who's still watching. I can see lots of people are still here with me. Thank you so much for watching. If there are any questions, pop them in the comments. And for those of you working along with me, thank you so much as well. Here we go. So I'm just working up square B, okay? I'm on row 3. So we're going to go on row 4. So this is the forward pass, working up, picking up all the loops. And again, I'm on row 4, so I'm going to connect to edge stitch number 4 there as well. And return pass is yarn over and pull through 2 all the way across. There we go. And I'm on the last row of square B. So this is row number 5. There we go. And the last edge stitch. And the return pass is yarn over, pull through 2. And the very last, to finish off the last row, here we go. We're going to do the slip stitches again, and we need to do them loose. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, there is 5, and 6. So it's 6 slip stitches across the top. Okay. And I'm going to slip stitch into the last edge stitch on a previous square. So we're going to slip stitch into there. Okay, so this is where we are at the moment. Okay, so we worked up square B, and now we're going to move on to the square type D. So we're going to pick up the loops across those slip stitches on top of square B, And as well as picking up these slip stitches here, we need to connect the square down this left-hand side onto the previous square, okay? So this is square type D, which is the most common square type that you will be working up in your fabric. When you look at the schematics on a blog, you will see that square type D is the most common in your whole shawl, okay? So you will be picking up the stitches and connecting to the left-hand side, okay? So again, here we go. We're gonna pick up, so I've got one loop on the hook already, and I'm gonna insert the hook under both loops of that slip stitch, pick up a loop, and I'm gonna repeat this across all 6 slip stitches, plus the original loop on the hook. So I've got 7 loops on the hook. And then because we are not only picking up the stitches across those slip stitches, we also need to now find the first edge stitch of the square to the left. So this the square C from previous row. So it's this loop edge stitch of the first row. So I'm going to insert my hook through that edge stitch as well and pull up a loop. This is to connect the square D onto the previous square, okay? And again, because we're connecting to the previous square, the return pass is yarn over, pull through 2, all the way across. There we go. Like this, okay? So that's the start of square type D. And again, from now on, it's pretty much the same of picking up under the vertical bars of each stitch, okay? So we should have 7 loops on a hook at this stage. And then again, second row is connecting to the second edge stitch. So I'm going to insert my hook and pull up another loop, which brings the total to 8. And return pass is yarn over, pull through 2, all the way across, like this. Here we go. Okay, we can go ahead and move on to the forward pass of row 3. And again, double check for yourself. We've got 7 loops on a hook and connected through the next edge stitch, 8 loops on a hook, and then yarn over and pull through 2, all the way across. There we go. So that's 3 rows now. And we've got row number 4. It's exactly the same. We're going to pick up loops under the vertical bars of each stitch. So we've got 7 loops, and to connect it, we're going to go through the edge stitch. Okay, like this. And then yarn over, pull through 2. Like this. Okay, so that's 4 rows. And the very last row of square D. So this is row number 5. And into the last edge stitch. Again, we've got 8 loops on a hook. and then yarn over, pull through 2 all the way across. And again, to finish off the last row of square D, we're going to go ahead and slip stitch across, and don't forget to do it loosely again. I will be repeating this forever, because trust me, if you don't do them loose enough, you will be cursing at your project because they will be way too tight to work into. So take my word for it, do them super loose. Like this, okay? Super loose slip stitches. And again, I'm going to slip stitch into the last edge stitch that we used to move my starting loop. Okay, so there we go. We have now worked up every single square type that you will need to build up your Tunisian Entrelac fabric. Okay, so we've got square A, square B, C. We've done another square B. This is square D, which is kind of the square in the middle of the fabric, which is the most common. And now we need to work up another square on top here, which is square type C, okay? So I'm gonna just go ahead and pick up through the slip stitches, and I'm gonna do this a little bit quicker, okay? So we can move on and I can show you how to work those triangles to square your fabric off to create a neat edge, okay? So 7 loops on a hook, and because I'm not connecting to anything, I'm going to go yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2 all the way across like this, okay? And second row, so I'm going to pick up the loops under the vertical stitches, the vertical bars, and again, reminder, when we get to the last stitch on the edge, we're picking up under both loops of the very last stitch like this, yeah? So let's double check. We've got 7 loops, and again, yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2 all the way across, okay? And of course, by this point, you're all Tunisian crochet pros, so let's speed through square type C before I show you how to work those little triangles. So those little triangles on the edge are basically half squares. So what we will need to do is do a little bit of decreasing, and I will show you how to do that to work a triangle instead of a square, okay? So I'm just speeding through the last square, okay? And I will give you a little time to catch up while I explain those little squares, or triangles rather. But I just want to finish this little sample so we can move on to the triangles. There we go. Is everyone okay? Is everyone keeping up? Have we got any questions? Pop them in the comments. We can answer them while we're here, no problem. So I've got 2, 4, 5 rows of square type C. Whoever's working along with me, I hope you are keeping up with me, and I hope it's all making sense so far. Of course, any questions, please do let me know in the comments. And what I'm doing now again is working the last row of slip stitches to finish off the last row of the fabric, like this. And chain 1, and we can cut the yarn again to fasten off. So there we go. That is starting to look like Layla shawl, just a very, very, very small version. Okay. You've already covered where I always had trouble before. Such a valuable lesson for me. Thank you so much for the kind comment, Castiel. That's very, very kind. So there we go. That's how you basically build your Tunisian Entrelac fabric. So if I was to continue making this bigger and bigger, so it's a shawl size, again, you will start with square B, then have square D, another square D, and a square C at the top, okay? And that is the diagonal row that you will be repeating, always starting with square B and always finishing with square C, and all the squares in between will be square type D, and the more rows you do, the more square type Ds you will have to finish between the two edge squares, okay? Small is a good place to start, Julia. Absolutely, yes. So once you reach your desired size of your shawl, or if you're working on this little sample with me, what we're going to do now is just straighten off the edge of your triangle with these 4 little squares. At the moment, if your shawl is much bigger, you will start with the one triangle, finish with that one, and these little triangles in between are all going to be the repeat of the same one. Okay, so let's go ahead and join the green. Okay, and let's start with the first triangle. So again, I'm going to look to the side of the square, okay, the side stitches, and I'm going to join through the first one. So join your yarn in the first one again, and we're going to start with those little triangles to square our fabric off. Okay, let me just double check. Okay, I think we're okay. Here we go. So to work the first triangle, to straighten off the edge, we're going to chain 6. Okay, so this is a slight little difference. I'm going to chain 6. Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit different. Okay, these are the triangles. So I chain 6, and again, I'm going to go into the second chain from the hook and pick up a loop, and into the next one, and into every single one across the foundation chain I have just made. So because we chained 6, we should have 6 loops on a hook like this. And then again, because we're connecting the triangle onto the edge, I'm going to insert my hook through the first edge stitch, the one we joined the yarn into, and pull up another loop. So I've got 7 loops at this point, okay? And the return pass is, again, because we're connecting, is yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, all the way across until the very last loop on the hook, okay? So the only difference is we chained 6 instead of 7, okay? So we've got 6. Now, this is where we need to start decreasing on this edge to work a triangle instead of a square. So to decrease in Tunisian simple stitch, we're going to go and insert the hook under the first and the second vertical bar. So under both at the same time, yarn over and pull up a loop. Okay? Then we're going to go under the next one, yarn over, pull up a loop, under the next one, and the last one. Okay? So at this point, instead of 6 loops from the first row, we've got 5 loops. Okay? Because we worked under 2 vertical bars at the same time, so we're decreasing. And again, we're joining, so under both loops of the second edge stitch, which is now 6 loops on a hook, and then yarn over and pull through 2 all the way across to work the return pass like this. Okay? Now on row 3, we're going to repeat exactly the same process. So we're going to start with Tunisian simple stitch, 2 stitches together. So on the first vertical bar and second one at the same time, because we're decreasing, so we're reducing the number of stitches. Yarn over, pull up a loop, and then on the next vertical bar and the next one. So at this point, we've got 4 loops on a hook, and again, we're connecting. So through the edge stitch to connect, and we've got 5 loops on a hook, and return pass is yarn over, pull through 2, all the way across. Okay. So as you can see, it's starting to get smaller. Now on row 4, again, we're going to do Tunisian simple stitch decrease. So on the first and second vertical bar, yarn over, pull up a loop. Under the next vertical bar, yarn over, pull up a loop. So we've got 3. And I'm going to insert my hook into the next edge stitch because we're connecting. So I've got 4 loops on a hook, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, and we've got 1 more row of this triangle, so row number 5. And all we've got left are 2 vertical bars. So I'm going to go ahead and insert my hook under both vertical bars, yarn over and pull through. So I've got 2 loops on a hook, and then I'm going to connect to the edge stitch, so the last one, pull up a loop. There we go. And I've got 3 loops on a hook, and what we do now is yarn over and pull through all 3 loops at the same time. Okay, and this is our first triangle finished. Okay, so this is the very first triangle to start straightening the edge of your shawl. Okay, so that was the first one. Now what we need to do is move our loop into the first slip stitch. So I'm not going to go into the edge stitch of the last square. I'm going to slip stitch through both loops of the first slip stitch that we worked on the square. Okay, so slip stitch into there. So my first loop is coming out of the first slip stitch on the previous square. And now I'm going to go ahead and use the same technique and pick up loops through the rest of those slip stitches And once I've done that, I should have 6 loops on the hook, like this. Okay, so we moved the first loop into the first slip stitch and pick up loop through all of those slip stitches. So I've got 6 loops on a hook. And again, because we're connecting the triangle to the previous square, I'm gonna slip stitch or pick up a loop through the edge stitch of that square as well, which brings the total to 7 loops. And again, return pass is yarn over, pull through 2 loops at the same time, like this. Okay, it's very cute, and I like how the TSSD together give that wider line on the edge. Yes, it's really pretty. So here we go. So that's the first row. On the second row, this is where we're going to start working the Tunisian simple stitch 2 together again. So under 2 vertical bars, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then again under the next one, all the way across. And again, second row, joining onto the second edge stitch of the previous square. And I've got 6 loops on a hook. Then yarn over, pull through 2, all the way across for the return pass. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and repeat that again. So for row 3, it's under 2 vertical bars at the same time because we're decreasing. Yarn over, pull through, and under the next one and the last one. So I've got 4 loops on a hook, and we're connecting to the edge stitch again. So pull up a loop. I've got 5 loops on a hook, and then yarn over, pull through 2, all the way across. Okay, so that's row number 3. Row number 4, again, under 2 vertical bars, yarn over, pull up a loop, under the next one. So we've got 3 loops on a hook, and again we're connecting to the next edge stitch. So that's 4 loops on a hook, and then return pass is yarn over, pull through 2, all the way across. And for the very last row number 5, we're going to go through the 2 vertical bars, pull up a loop. So that leaves me 2 loops on a hook, and through the very last edge stitch. So I've got 3 loops on a hook, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops at the same time. And that's the second triangle on the edge finished. So let's go ahead and work the next one, and then we're going to go on to the last one because that one is slightly different than the previous ones. Right, so I have finished row 5, and now I again need to move this loop into the first slip stitch. So I'm going to go ahead, insert my hook, and slip stitch across to the first slip stitch on that square. And again, I'm going to pick up 6 loops onto my hook, 1 in each of those slip stitches, like this. And again, I've got this square to the left, so we're going to be connecting through the edge stitches. So I'm back to 7 loops on a hook, and the return pass is yarn over, pull through 2, all the way across, like this. Okay. And we're going to move on to row number 2, which is Tunisian simple stitch 2 together. So that's under 2 vertical bars, yarn over, pull through, and then pick up the loops through the remaining stitches. And again, we're going to connect to the edge stitch. So I've got 6 loops on a hook. And again, the return pass is yarn over, pull through 2. Okay. Row number 3, under both vertical bars again, because we're decreasing along that edge. And pick up through the other 2 stitches. So I've got 4 loops on a hook, through the edge stitch to connect. So I've got 5 loops on a hook, and again the return pass is through 2. So row number 4 is again decrease. So under 2 vertical bars, yarn over, pull up a loop. So we got 3 loops on a hook, connect to the previous square, 4 loops on a hook, and then return pass is yarn over, pull through 2. And for the very last row is under both vertical bars, pull up a loop, connect to the last edge stitch, which gives you 3 loops on a hook, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on a hook. Okay, so this is where we are at the moment. We straightened off this edge, but obviously we don't want our shawl to be cut off, so we're going to work up a little triangle up there above the last square. Okay, so again we're going to move the loop into the first slip stitch by slip stitching across there. Okay, so that's first loop on a hook, and again I'm going to insert my hook under both loops of those slip stitches and pick up 1 loop through each of those slip stitches, which means I'll have 6 loops on my hook like this. And because we are obviously again on the edge where we're not connecting to anything, the return pass is a little bit different by yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2, all the way across like this. Okay, so that's the first row. For the second row, we're going to start with the Tunisian simple stitch 2 together. So that's under 2 vertical bars. Pull up a loop. Okay, and then through the next one and the next one. And again, don't forget, with the very last stitch on the edge, we're going to go under 2 of those vertical bars, yeah? So we've got 5 loops on a hook, and again return pass, because we're not connecting, is yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2, all the way across. Okay, so that's row 2. Row 3 again under both vertical bars, pull up a loop through the next one, and under both strands of the last stitch. So we've got 4 loops on a hook, and then return pass, yarn over, pull through 1, and yarn over, pull through 2 till the end. Then we've got row 4, go through 2 under 2 vertical bars, okay? pull up a loop, and under both strands of the last stitch, so we've got 3 loops on a hook. This is where it's a little bit different. We're going to go yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2 twice, okay? Because we only worked up 4 rows, we need row number 5. So we've got 1 loop on a hook, and I'm going to go under the vertical bar of the next stitch, and all I've got left is the last stitch. So under the vertical bar of the next stitch, and under both of the bars of the last stitch, okay, pull through, which gives me 2 loops on a hook, and then I'm going to yarn over and pull through both of them to finish off, and chain 1, and I'm going to cut off because we've come to the end. There we go. So that's the very last triangle finished. So as you can see, this is the live sample. So you can see that I've made this sample right in front of your eyes. So this is what it looks like at the moment without being blocked. This little triangle just wants to fold over. But like I said, little bit of blocking, a little bit of persuasion, and it will sort it out. But this is, as I said, this is fingering weight yarn with 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. So it's a good combination to get a fabric that, as you can see, without any kind of blocking. Yes, it does curl a little bit along this edge, but as a whole, it's not too bad, right? It's not curling beyond belief where you kind of think like, what have I just made a tube rather than a shawl. So like I said, this little edge where the foundation chains sit, as you can see, it is curling a little bit, but the whole sample on the whole, I think this is okay. This is easily fixed by blocking. You know, just a little bit of blocking, it will sit nice and flat, okay? And as you can see, this is the sample I made last night as well, and it sits fairly flat, okay? Like I said, these little last triangles, they just want to kind of ping, they want to ping up, but I think on the whole, the fabric actually looks okay. It's not, a whole mess of a tube that you have to kind of struggle with to even see what you're doing with it. Tunisian simple stitch is one of those stitches that doesn't curl a lot. So mine looks a little loose in spots, but for first time it looks good. So, wow, I think my voice had enough now. So I'm just going to leave that there now. Thank you so much for watching. I never thought I was going to get this far without coughing. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for everyone who's joined. I hope you enjoyed the masterclass. If there are any questions, pop them along in the comments and I will come back to them after. But if you excuse me now, I think I need a little rest to my voice. I think we've done really, really good with the masterclass. It's been 1 hour and 26 minutes of talking. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that all now makes more sense. And as Julia said, now to practice, of course, go ahead and practice your samples. And I can't wait to see loads of Layla shawls start popping up everywhere. Can't wait to see your color combinations and what you do with the entrelac. With the entrelac. Get well soon. Thank you so much. Feel better soon. Thank you so much, everyone. Jamie, lovely. Thank you. Ever so welcome. Thank you for the kind words. I thank you for sticking with me for a whole hour and a half. Yes, Susan. The class will be available in my Facebook group, community group, Blue Star Crochet community group on Facebook, or it will be available on my YouTube channel, Blue Star Crochet. So pop over there, or if you're watching from YouTube, Susan, so subscribe and turn the notifications on. But the class will stay on there for everyone to view as a support to the Layla shawl crochet along. So the Layla shawl pattern and schematics are now on the blog. I did put the link in the comments. But let me just pop there again. So the link is in the comments for the Layla shawl. So you can go ahead and look at the schematics on the blog. All the little squares are numbered, and they also give you the type of the square that you need to make to build up your fabric for the Layla shawl. Okay, so thank you for all the get well soon wishes. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm so glad we got through the masterclass without me having a massive coughing fit. But yeah, I am gonna go and have a hot lemon and honey tea now, just to rest my voice a little bit. But thank you so much for watching the masterclass. Rewatch it as many times as you need to. Pop over to the blog and look at the pattern. And please, please, if you finish your Layla shawls, share them with me. I would love to see them. So thank you so much again for watching. And thank you, Zohra. Thank you so much. So many lovely comments. I'll just pop them on here quickly. Thank you, everyone. Here we go. Julia, thank you so much. So yeah, here we go. Tunisian Entrelac. I hope you love the technique as much as I love teaching you. Enjoy the masterclass. It will be available to watch again and again. And I will see you very, very, very soon for a catch up or for a chat. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.